Named as one of the 5 elite generals of Wei by Chen Shou, Yue Jin was noted for his bravery and ferocity on the battlefield, which led to him being particularly praised as a capable vanguard. Wherever he fought, Jin would be on the front line and first to breach the enemy defences. He may have overcompensated for his short and small stature with overly aggressive behaviour, much like a Napoleon complex. He was born in Yangping Commandery and recorded early as small-sized but courageous. When he first came to serve Cao Cao before the 190s, he was appointed as a clerk who handled administrative tasks in the camp. After this, he was made a bannerman to raise troops to fight against Dong Zhuo, and he brought with him 1,000 men from his hometown. He was then put into test as an acting major and formation-breaking commandant. He proved his value time and time again in battles when Cao Cao was solidifying his position in the Central Plains. Yue Jin led the vanguard of Cao Hong when the army returned from Shu province to deal with Lu Bu at Puyang. There were many losses on both sides, but Yue Jin's contributions were still recognized by his superior. The treacherous Zhang Miao followed Lu Bu after they were expelled from Yan province. He left his brother Zhang Xiu in Yongqiu as he went to get help from Yuan Shao, but he was killed by his own men on the way. Yue Jin led the vanguard to lay siege to Yongqiu as Yue Jin found victory everywhere he went in the areas around the city. It took several months, but Yue was the first to break the enemy defences when they found victory. The pair later fought against Xiao Rui at Ku County, where Yue led the vanguard once more. Despite Yue Jin being the first to break the enemy formation, it was Yue Jin who killed Xiao Rui and 4 of his generals. By now, Yue Jin was highly valued in Cao Cao's camp, so he was awarded with a marquis over Guanchang precinct. Many hardships were suffered during the attacks against Zhang Xiu, but Yue Jin and Yue Jin are both recorded to have earned merit during the battles despite the defeat. The campaign south would not be easy because Zhang Xiu was backed by Liu Biao. Liu Bei was also asking for help in fighting Lu Bu at Xiaopei, so Cao Cao made an alliance with Zhang and withdrew his forces. In the coming siege at Xiapi against Lu Bu, Yue Jin led a separate command and defeated one of Lu Bu's deputies outside the city. His unit joined in the surrounding of the city, where he continued to kill some enemy officers. In preparation for the upcoming war against Yuan Shao, Yue Jin was assigned to the northern border. The army under Zhang Yang's leadership needed to pick an ally to support, which led to much turmoil and ultimately his assassination. Yang Chu fled south in order to pledge the men to Cao Cao instead, but he was killed by Sui Gu, who led the men back north to Yuan Shao. Seeking to prevent this alliance and secure his eastern flank, Cao Cao sent an army led by Shi Huan, Tao Ren and Yue Jin to intercept Sui Gui's march. They crossed the He River and met in battle at Shuancheng. At the same time, Yue Jin successfully hunted down his prey and joined the assault against Sui Gu, whereafter they took control of the Bing province troops. He then quickly led his men to join Tao's urgent eastern campaign against Liu Bei, who needed to be dealt with before Yuan Shao decided to act. Having just thwarted an assassination attempt, Tao made a highly risky move by turning his attention towards Liu Bei. Liu Dai and Wang Zhong were sent to attack him, but they suffered defeat, so Cao led his main force into battle. Within a very short time, Liu Bei's armies dissolved, during which his aide Guandu was captured alive. Yue Jin was promoted to the colonel who attacks bandits for his achievements and involvement in the campaign. Yuan Shao tried to take advantage of Tao's absence, so mobilized his armies towards Guandu, but was daunted by Yue Jin, the defender of Yan Ford. Before Cao reached the front line, Yue Jin was assigned several thousand soldiers to reinforce Yue Jin. They rendezvoused, then selected the top 5,000 soldiers to form an elite infantry and cavalry force, then raided the enemy camps along the river. They stealthily led their men along the Yan River as far as Ji County, then crossed the river north to raid Huajia County. They set fire to some 30 enemy camps, killed or captured several thousand men each, then forced the surrender of some 20 officers, including He Mao and Wang Mo. These critical victories contributed to the pivotal Battle of Guandu, which soon got underway as both sides clashed in open warfare. A series of engagements were fought where Yuan Shao lost some of his best generals, but he still possessed a huge army, and their ally supplies were almost depleted. Yue Jin was summoned back to camp at Yuanwu County, where he was personally picked to lead the vanguard on Cao's desperate mission to Wu Chao, a possible location of the enemy supply depot. This highlights Tao's trust and belief in Yue Jin's ability to lead an army from the front. They disguised the soldiers as Yuan Shao's men, then Yue Jin stealthily led Cao's 5,000 cavalry under the cover of night, unopposed through Yuan Shao's territory. They arrived at the enemy camp in the early dawn, where they took the much larger enemy force by surprise, forcing Chen Yuxiong back into his forts. The forts were set alight, and Wu Chao was soon raided. Then Yue Jin was able to capture Chen Yuxiong alive, who had had his nose cut off. Cao Cao also cut off the noses of the dead, mixed them with noses and lips of oxen and horses, then left them for Yuan Shao's men to discover. Almost all of the food supplies at Wu Chao were burnt, so Yue Jin's success became a determining factor for Cao Cao to secure a decisive victory over Yuan Shao. When the armies marched north to stamp out Yuan Shao's heirs and supporters, their progress was checked at Liang, where the two sides fought in the open field. Yue Jin routed Yanjing, and his performance on the field frightened the enemy back into Yi City at night. He was promoted before they laid siege to the city, then was sent with Zhang Liao to relocate the people south of the Yellow River into Cao Cao's domain, before heading to Lian Commandery to settle some remnants of the Yellow Turbans. He then returned north again to Yi to join the siege, where he managed to fight his way into the inner city. After victory had been found, his next target was Yuan Tan's foothold in Nanpi, which could hardly have been stable as Yuan had only re-established himself for a few weeks at most. When Cao Cao brought his army forward to Longkou, the Yuan forces retreated to Nanpi, leaving Pingyuan free for the taking. The following month, when Nanpi came under siege, Yuan Tan launched a counterattack. Casualties were considerable on both sides, with the Tiger and Leopard cavalry units suffering many wounded. The tide of battle turned when Yue Jin climbed the city walls and opened the east gate, enabling the cavalry to charge in and enact their revenge by taking Yuan Tan's head. In 206, Yue Jin, and Zhang Liao were praised by Cao Cao to the emperor, who rewarded and recognized their excellence in northern China. Their military strength is overwhelming, and their strategic plans are thoroughly prepared. Each of them act in unity and continue to display loyalty, integrity, and righteousness towards the state. They serve as commanding leaders in every battle and attack, exerting their strength by charging hard positions, always resisting, and never faltering. Their hands do not know weariness, yet they continue to assist in beating the drums and managing affairs personally. When they are sent on separate campaigns, they manage and control the armies well, acting in accordance with the locals to keep the troops harmonious as they march. They never violate orders and always face the enemy in decisive action. They do not fail. In discussing achievement, order, and employment, it's appropriate for each to be specially favoured. When the armies marched north to fight the Wu Huan, Yuan Shao's nephew Gao Gan rebelled. Despite surrendering earlier, he killed the administrator of Shandang and fortified the city. Yue Jin was sent to take a northern route to circle around to Gao Gan's rear, which alerted him to defend Hu Pass at the mouth of the mountain. In repeated battles, heads were taken on both sides, but Gao Gan firmly kept the defences up. Despite laying siege to Hu Pass for 3 months, Yue Jin could not overcome the defences until Cao Cao arrived with the main army. Gao Gan fled the scene to get help from the Xiongnu, leaving Xie Zhao and Deng Sheng to defend. Every defender was killed when Cao Cao's reinforcements breached the pass. Meanwhile, the Xiongnu refused to help Gao Gan, who eventually met his end as he continued to flee. In August of the same year, Cao Cao headed east to attack a pirate force led by Guan Cheng. When he arrived at Chenyu, Yue Jin and Li Dian led the vanguard to Changguang, where they defeated the enemy. As the Wei army pacified the seashore, Guan Cheng escaped to a remote island out at sea, but he was eventually defeated and forced to surrender. As a result of the disastrous defeat at Chibi, Cao Cao's huge army was scattered around the plains north of the Yangtze River. At the time, Tao Ren was vigorously fighting around Jiangling, and less fierce battles were being fought in southern Jing. Yue Jin was sent to defend Xiangyang in preparation for follow-up attacks from Zhou Yu. Whilst Liu Bei assisted Zhou Yu on the front line, Guan Yu and Zhang Fei were given command over his troops. Guan Yu and Su Fei formed an elite naval force in an attempt to cut the connection between the two cities, but they were stopped in their tracks by Yue Jin, who defeated them. They attempted a second mission to block the waterway of Xiangyang, but this time they faltered at Xiaku. Yue Jin and Wen Ping led their armies out onto the water and defeated them. After about a year or so, the campaign turned into a war of attrition, which resulted in enormous casualties for Cao Cao. Noticing that the situation was getting worse, Yue Jin raised an army from the Valley Man and Yi tribes who surrendered over to him in Xiangyang. He led his tribal force to Jiangling, where they found victory in several skirmishes against Liu Bei's forces. He then mimicked Guan Yu's infiltration strategy by attacking and totally routing Du Pu and Liangda, the respective chiefs of Linzhou and Jiangyang counties. Unwilling to continue to lose resources and manpower, Cao Cao ordered Tao Ren to withdraw. The fall of Jiangling to Sun Quan is generally regarded as the aftermath of the Red Cliffs campaign, whereafter Quan led his troops to attack Hefei. Yue Jin was granted imperial authority by Cao Cao on the way to reinforce the city. Their arrival prompted Sun Quan to withdraw his forces, whereafter Yue Jin, Li Dian and Zhang Liao were left with 7,000 men to defend it. Due to his numerous exploits, Yue Jin's parcel of land was increased to 1,200 households. 500 of them were given to his son Yue Lin, who carried his father's manor. He was known for being decisive, determined, firm and resolute, but met his end during Zhuge Dan's rebellion at Shuchun in the year 257. When Sun Quan attacked Hefei again with a 100,000 men strong naval force, he bypassed a 300,000 strong army led by Jie Hadun. The defending trio were in dire straits as reported by Shu Ti, who had been sent to monitor them by Cao Cao. Even though they were not on good terms with each other, they all followed their lord's orders and successfully defended the city. Generals Zhang and Li went out to fight the enemy and killed 2 generals on the first encounter. General Yue defended the fortress, whilst Shu Ti stayed out of the battle. Zhang and Li were forced back into the city, but eventually a plague broke out in Sun Quan's ranks, which forced him to give up. During the chaotic retreat, Sun Quan would have been killed if he was not saved by his general Ling Tong. Hence, the siege of Hefei almost became a tremendous victory for Cao Cao's side. Yue Jin went on to be promoted for his contributions, but died 3 years later. Historically, he was not killed by Gan Ning, as the cause of his death was not documented. He was given the posthumous title Marquis Wei, meaning awe-inspiring Marquis. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.